We are live. One thing I want to say too, while we're letting some people roll in here, YouTube. If you, let's say something happens, you got to step out. The YouTube page is in my bio. If you want to catch the full length live, go to YouTube and you can listen to it. I posted Fridays. It's up now. Lot of spooky stories. We talked about a lot of stuff. I hadn't heard of the tall man in a long time, but we brought that up for a little bit. It was cool to have people coming in the chat and talking. So anytime, so if you're listening to this on YouTube, hello, this is not live, but this is live, but on YouTube is not live. So hello. Comment, like, if you see the replay. Other than that, I appreciate everyone who has shared kind words regarding the podcast. I know it's a lot sometimes, but I'm always very appreciative of people who do come in the chat or come in and chat it up. But we'll let some people roll in here, and if you're on the YouTube right now listening to this, don't be afraid to comment, and don't be afraid to like. And don't be afraid to subscribe. So if you're catching this on the back end on YouTube, don't be afraid to do those things. I appreciate it. It helps the channel. On YouTube, I broke past 1,000. Finally, I was like wondering if that was ever going to happen. And so if you're hearing this, go subscribe on YouTube. But yeah, that's cool. I never thought. I'm just a regular guy who just talks. As you guys, there's like absolutely no production value besides myself in my shoddy edits. So I appreciate everyone who has become a follower and followed me on here, and then also subscribed on YouTube. Every episode of my podcast, the War Cry podcast, is on YouTube. Every single one. And even live. So I've had different guests from all different types of tribal nations, from East Coast to West Coast to Southeast to Southwest, even in Canada. So all over. But I like telling Oklahoma stories. That's what I like telling. I like spooky stories in Oklahoma because I live here and it's cool. I enjoy it. I have a good time doing it, and I'm glad. Hopefully you guys are glad that that's what we do here. Got a few people coming in and out. I appreciate you joining me. If you have a topic here in Oklahoma, or if you're, if by chance you're somewhere else, put it in the chat and and I'll talk about it. I do this thing every live of you give me a city name in Oklahoma and I might have a story. But also too, let me know where you're from. Like I said, I might have a story for you. I've had hundreds of people share stories with me over the course of the almost 4 years of this podcast. It'll be 3 years. A little over 3 years. Coming up in November. 3 years of the podcast. And we're going to be doing Halloween specials over on YouTube. I'll be having all types of guests coming in, and we'll be chatting it up. Talking about all types of crazy stuff. Louie from Silent Watchers, how's it going, man? Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're enjoying your Monday evening. Hopefully it's spooky. I thought I'd come. Dang, that sounded crazy. I thought I'd come on. It's getting dark here in Oklahoma right now. It's just getting a little dark. So I thought I'd come on and start telling these spooky stories. But I need your help. If you got a topic or a story, if you want to hear a Bigfoot story, let me know. It's going good, just at work. Well, hopefully this live helps you through that work. I have a lot of people. Golly, I didn't realize it was going to do this, but so people have been looking at the Blood and Myth documentary about LP, and there's a lot of good information in that documentary, and I've had a lot of people ask, what is LP? And you never know. You never know. Louis says, I've been listening to your podcast at work. Well, I appreciate it. I'm on the alien abduction one. Oh yeah, aliens. I think I talked about Phil Snyder on that one a little bit. I thought that was a crazy story, and I thought you did a good job too. One thing too about me is I read a lot, so like there may be times where like I've read something and I just forget about it, and then I reread it again, and I talk about it because someone reminds me. But let me know in the chat. Come on now, y'all. Let's not be boring tonight now. Y'all, hey, Friday night was popping, man. That was so much fun. I didn't realize how like many people are not doing anything. I didn't know we were all kind of, not sure what's going on. But do me a favor, if you're listening, tap the like screen. Hit the like button. If you hit the like button, I may help you out with some doctor bills if you get arthritis. If you get arthritis, I'll help you out. I'll help you out. I got an HSA set up. I'll help y'all out. But we'll be talking about everything. Oklahoma stories, out of Oklahoma stories. You want to talk about LP? You want to talk about Bigfoot? Like I said, I've had a lot of people asking me, what is LP? What is LP? Yeah, I got a haircut too, y'all. I had to beat the Danny McBride allegations. They was too hot and heavy for me. Bigfoot Society sent me a heart. Me appreciate you. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. I love the heart me's. But yeah, we talk about it. We talk about anything y'all want to talk about tonight. If you're just coming in, hit the like button. I do this every live stream, every single one, at every 10. Like so, for instance, 5K, 10K, 15K, 20K. So on and so forth. Every 5,000 likes, I'll tell you a story. So if we get up to 5K, I got a story for you. I think I missed the hat, but that's all right. Appreciate it, Bigfoot Society. Man, I'll tell you what about Jeremiah Bryan. He's in here right now. I've never seen. I had to laugh to myself one day. I was scrolling through YouTube, and just kind of, I just peruse. I said, this dude's got 19,000 upcoming episodes coming out. I said, that man is busy. So go check him out, Bigfoot Society. He goes live. I don't know when he's going to go live next, but he goes live. But yeah, that dude is, he's on it. I said, God bless. He got 1,000 episodes lined up talking to everybody. I was on his show twice, I believe. I was on once for a live stream, and then I was on. You just type in my name on YouTube, you'll find it. But Bigfoot Societies is the name of his podcast that he has. But we're just vibing out tonight. We're gonna see what's popping. If we can get, like I said, we get to 5K, I'll tell y'all a story. I don't even know how to put that in the description. I just been being basic about it. But a lot of people been commenting on that Blood and Myth video that's on my page, and I don't know if people just aren't listening to the video. Betsy sent me a heart me. Thank you. I'm not sure if people are not listening to the video, but I'm not giving any information out in that video. I had like a bunch of people being like, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? You're not saying nothing. I'm like, I'm not trying to spoil the documentary. I'm not. One thing too that I'm not is a spoiler. I hate it. I hate when people do it for me, so I'll never do it to anybody else. Let's see here. Louis says, I got a question here. Did you hear about the guy who filmed a giant and then soon disappeared after that? Yes, I saw that. I talked about a little bit with, I believe, with Weird Main Paranormal, I believe. So that guy, I don't know what was going on with that. I remember seeing that like coming up a lot. When I haven't always been big on TikTok. I'm a YouTube guy, but he films this creature up on the ridge. Now I had heard people saying, "Oh, it's a Nephilim, it's giants, it's Bigfoot." But to me, I'm not sure if it's any. I'm not sure if it's not something that is like, how I say this. I always think of like Dr. Evil when he had the little gun come out of from the ground. Because I'm wondering too, in that situation, for it to be a giant or a Bigfoot or whatever, I don't understand why they would come so hard at him about that. I mean, that video went viral and he just happened to catch it. But in my mind and how I operate logically and in trying to, I'm always trying to figure out what it can be first before I figure out, before I think about what it isn't. I'm wondering if that's like, they was talking about these underground bases. And I'm wondering if there's something in that mountain and he caught it. Because I'm also wondering too, these underground bases are all over the country. And I hope this stream doesn't get canceled because of this. There's a lot of billionaires right now. They tell you everything. They tell you everything in movies and TV shows. There's a show that came out earlier this year called Paradise. Great show. Great twists. But it's about a society that's underground after a nuclear blast or some type of, explosion or world-ending thing. And I wonder if that's not, if that has to be real to me. Like you're going through and you're buying thousands and thousands of acres of land. There's a bunker. I'm not going to give any of these billionaires' names out. If you want to go look this up, you can. But I know there's a billionaire out he did it in Hawaii. I know Oprah did it. I'll give Oprah. But there's a few of them out there that have done it. And this is another crazy thing that I didn't even know. But there's a woman named Catherine Fritz. She's been on a few podcasts and she's been on a lot of stuff. And she was a financial person for, I believe, George H.W. Herbert Walker, I believe. But I think she was also in some other department when George W. Bush was in. And around she was in that government for a long time. And she would talk about during 9/11. 9/11 just passed. We had some crazy stuff happen too last week. I don't even care to get into it, but 9/10, there was an announcement from, I can't remember I think it was from the Pentagon, that they had trillions of dollars missing the day before 9/11. And I remember watching videos about that and how that was kind of sort of a big deal. That there was that much trillions of dollars missing from the budget. And literally 9/11 happens, the rest is history. And we forget about that. But she was saying there was enough money, quote unquote, stolen from Herbert Walker to today that you could basically start a whole new breakaway civilization. There was enough money taken from our tax dollars that could make an entire society away from ours. That we have all this reality right now. And that, the show Paradise is exactly that. In that show, one person had the idea. Another person was the one to enact the idea. And then the rest of everybody was the money pushers. And they had very selective people who were like, all right, this person up here made the best milkshakes. This person was the best bartender. This person was the best, they went through the list of what they needed in this society. And here's another thing too. That also might be why people are going missing. Is they have to fill up the notable people Because one thing about the missing 411, I'm going deep, y'all. This is so deep. I may have lost y'all. Let me know in the chat if I've lost you. I'll quit talking about it. But one thing that I'm noticing about missing 411, and it's a very kind of looked over part of missing 411, is that a lot of the smart people that are taken are German. That's weird to me. That is very interesting to me. Now, there are doctors taken. What's another one thing too is that it's always, it's children taken. And in this breakaway society, you would need a younger population to keep it going. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I'll get to some comments here. Let's see here. Yeah, Paradise is a great show. I would, if you go listen to Catherine Fritz and then you go watch Paradise, you're like, yeah, this is happening for real. Like this is real life. They just happen to film it and make a show out of it. SKB said, I think proof of large beings confirms the validity of the Bible, biblical figures. I don't know about that. I don't agree with that, but I don't disparage those who don't believe the same way I do. The only problem with the Nephilim theory is the flood part of it. Were they underground? Because if the flood theory, which is the flood happened, everyone knows the flood happened. That is historical fact. Every culture, every civilization all over the planet recalls a flood in their ancient writings. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. If there was a great flood, did it flood only part of the planet? Did it only flood us, we don't, I don't know. I'm not I'm not a theologian by any means. But I also think that the Old Testament isn't for us to, I'm once the New Testament came, if you look at the linear, if you are still following the Old Testament, that's what Jewish religion is basically the Old Testament. The New Testament is regarding the Gentiles. That's how I look at it. So when I see people trying to conflate cryptids and large beings and giants and all this stuff, it doesn't connect for me. I know people try to put two and two together, but to that credit, and I'll say this too, this is in favor of the Nephilim theory. I think that they're messing with some ancient DNA. We just saw them bring back direwolves. They might have found something in Antarctica. They might have found something in the jungles of the Amazon. And they may have found something that was ancient, some ancient DNA, and brought back some of these things. And some of these things may have gotten loose. I don't know. I just feel like here in 2025, more people are seeing more things. And I think it's because of this right here. This thing that we're all looking in, the one that I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. Not really looking at you, but you get what I'm saying. But it does make me ponder. Because nothing is out of the realm. I don't dismiss anything. There's some things that are still open at the table. I am not well versed. I am not intelligent I'm ignorant to the Nephilim theory. I've heard it from different people in the cryptid community. It doesn't make sense to me because maybe the way that they explained it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm okay with admitting that. Like, I'm not an encyclopedia, even though sometimes it may come across that I'm very quick with my stuff. But the Nephilim theory, I'm still open to that. If someone can show me something that's not, because here's what happens to that theory, is you get people. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but there's people that I see here on TikTok who do this. I saw a guy who was on a very big conspiracy. It starts with the C, and he was talking about natives and the people who, quote unquote, gave this family a spiritual insight to their beliefs, and it's a place, and it's, I'll just say, White Mountain. is where this happened. That's all I'm going to say. You go do your own research. But I did a post about it here on my page, asking those people, those native people who are on that reservation, if this is true. And I had a couple dozen, maybe a dozen or so, however many, I can't remember at this point, be like, I don't even know who this is. I've never heard of this family. But allegedly this family is supposed to be on this res very active. But that's the problem, is we have that. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm just a guy. Susie says, oh no, I'm just German and Italian. Thang Long. Hey, buddy. What's going on with you, brother? Yo, follow Thang Long if y'all want to laugh, man. You're having a bad day, follow Thang Long. Because that Thang Long, in terms of his memes. Stephanie Vaquer, man. I ain't going to hold you. She cooking with gas. This land should have been Sequoia. You're talking about Oklahoma? What's crazy too about that? So I did some research. I was looking into there was actually a declaration put together for the 5 tribes here and the 5 big tribes here. And then they were going to add some of the smaller tribes who have allotment land and reservation land here in Oklahoma. But it was called the State of Sequoia. Go look that up. That's very interesting. They sent it to Congress, and Congress just didn't do anything with it. It's crazy. Some of the history that isn't taught in school. So the tribes would have been there would have been 51 states because it would have been a native state, which is interesting. SKB said the flood and why it says they, men of renown, influence. We were here before and after is tough for sure. Yeah. Like I said, it's an interesting topic. I think they're messing with things. I know Colossal right now is messing with mammoth DNA. They're taking Asian elephants with this ancient DNA mixed in with a few other things. That's Jurassic World, y'all. That's Jurassic World. It's scary for sure. Like I read books and I love the show Zoo. If you guys have seen the show Zoo and the book by James Patterson, these animals get out, and over time they start to evolve. They start to, it's just crazy. We don't know what we're doing. I don't even know what it was. Yeah, it was repealed, Chance. Yep, they got it out of there. They sat on it and then they just got rid of it. I'm talking about the state of Sequoia. Chance said, can't forget the vote in the middle of the night to sell our state to HP. Yep. 1911 was the vote. It's crazy, man. Some of the history here in Oklahoma, they don't tell us. You had to be there, and everyone's dead. It was forever ago. But that's what I said. That's why I love going live, man. I got people coming in here and you give your opinions, and I love that. I love the fact that we can go back and forth, and we can share things because I know a lot of people think TikTok can be pretty toxic, but I just try to ignore those people because people who can come in and add something. That's what I want. That's what I look for. If I'll go to someone's page and I'll see that they've been talking crazy in the comments, and I go look at their page and they're private. I'm like, all right, where's your content? Come on here, show your face. You ain't got to hide behind, whatever. It's like you're going to talk crazy to people, but you're hiding behind an anime character. Come on now. Man, you know what's crazy? You just reminded me of something in the comments. I had someone explaining Tulsa's some of their churches here in Tulsa, like the big churches downtown, and I may have to get a hold of that person. That person knows something about them downtown Tulsa churches, because there's some crazy stuff in there. He was saying that they found out that there were tunnels underneath some of these churches that lead all the way through Tulsa. And like I told a tunnel story, what was it, a couple days ago? Something like that, Chance. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I have to go back and read his comment. He left a couple like really great informational comments about, I guess, one of the Scottish Rite, I believe, had control of that building, and he said basically it was like hollow or something like that. I can't remember. I have to go look in the comments. But I was like, whoa, that's creepy. And like, I don't really talk about, only a few older churches, yeah. I don't really talk about the Masons and stuff. I have before on my podcast. I get nervous talking about those guys, man. One of the guy, my staff member who I received those tunnel stories from, and about the pastor who kind of lives two separate lives, was telling me stuff that they keep an eye on this stuff. Like they watch it. It ain't from, it ain't like they're not unaware. They're very aware. Let's see here. Starley says, "Are you from Oklahoma?" Born and raised from Oklahoma. Tahlequah, Oklahoma is where I was born. Hastings Hospital. In the dead of night. That's why I'm spooky like that. But yeah, and then I live in the Tulsa area now. If you go check my videos out, you'll see what suburb I'm in. Chance says Albert Pike has a lot to play in Oklahoma, not personally, but people he assigned to these areas. Yep, that's interesting. That is very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Louis says, for Silent Watchers, he says, have you ever looked into astral projection or sleep paralysis? I actually had a cousin of mine send me a astral projection story. And I'll have to go read it. But essentially, she saw something that wasn't of this dimension. And she zoomed right back into her body. I have to double check the story. I may tell it. I may have to get her permission to tell it. I told her This Is Creepy. If you guys ever want to hear listener stories that I've received, This Is Creepy on YouTube is my series that I call it. I tell some of the stories I receive on that series that I do on my podcast are some crazy ones. So another one that I'll tell y'all one right here. Are we at 5K? No, we're not at 5K yet. When I get to 5K, I'll tell you a story. It's a IHS story. Indian Health Services Hospital. Let's see here. Susie said, I've only been in Oklahoma a couple years, or for 5 years. I just ran across your page about a tall man. Yeah. I don't really, like I said, I got to go and talk to some people about that. I may have to talk to my dad about that. But the tall man he's really tall. He's like, tree height. And his legs look like tree stumps. Sometimes people mistake him. And I can't, like I said, I can't exactly remember how it goes. But if you come across him, you can't talk about him. And I've had family members tell me about him. Tunnel systems in major cities is so weird. I have no idea what it was. It was a thing until recently. It's crazy. SKB. I didn't really know it was a thing until that guy started telling me about him, especially here in Tulsa. And I want to tell this location so bad, man. I've been holding back. I know a lot of people have kind of hinted at it in Midtown because where it's located, there used to be an old hospital. And that's where he was saying that a lot of that child stuff was going on. I kind of really PG'd it up on that story. There was a lot of details that I could have told. They're gruesome. I didn't want to tell them on here because I don't know I'm still gauging the. But on my YouTube, I do have it as a members only episode because I talk about a lot like details that you're not gonna like. That if they get here on TikTok, then yeah, like I don't want anything coming towards me. Chances I can go deep into Masonic history, even predating Albert Pike's morals and dogma. 33rd degree. Yeah, I have, like I said, man, I I don't really like talking about them, I guess. It just makes me nervous, man, because I know that, especially where I went to high school at, they control that town. Like they do. A lot of powerful people. One of the weirdest times ever is I went to some banquet there. This girl I was dating in high school, her dad was doing a banquet or something. It was weird, man. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what it was, but the vibes were just off. I just did it twice. What did you do twice, baby CD or Katie or baby Katie? Dang, I can't even read your name. I'm illiterate. Illiterate. I promise I don't feel like I've ever came back. Dang, that's kind of crazy though. Thank you for the follow, baby Katie. I appreciate it. I'm glad people like my content. I'm glad people enjoy having these conversations with me because I just be talking to myself, I guess. Be out here I could just not record it and just be talking. But I appreciate you joining me on this journey to try to find something, figure some things out, I guess. Yeah, Susie, go listen to that episode. It's called Tulsa Skinwalkers, what that episode's called. Because there's a lot of stuff that this guy was doing to my boss. And I may tell some here. I just don't want to get too much details because he knew a few things. I knew that for sure he did. I'll have to reach out to you about mirrors and other dimensions behind them. Hey, Louie, I might have to have you on the podcast, actually. I'll have to have you on. I'm waiting for a perfect time to do the 100th episode. I got to find a little bit of time because I want to do a bang out episode, and that episode will be live on YouTube. It won't be live here on TikTok. There may be clips on here on TikTok, but the full thing would be over on YouTube. And I don't know when I'm going to do the 100th episode. HT Pruitt says, "You coming to Norman?" I am not, unfortunately. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been to Norman a few times. I have heard different creepy things about Norman, especially, I want to say it's one of the dorms or I can't remember where it is, but it's one somewhere creepy like that. I read it in a book a long time ago. Susie said, I've heard Oklahoma is very creepy or very spooky. Yeah, it is. I'll debate anybody on that. Oklahoma, every blade of grass, someone's seen something on that grass. It may not be at that time that you're there, but someone saw something. Oklahoma's underrated. It should be more spooky around here. And that's one thing, too. I think when people move here, they don't really understand. And I'm going to give, this is like not a speech, but it's just something that I always think about. When people move here, they don't realize where they're moving to. And I've said this on the last live. Native people, when we were removed from our homelands and brought here to Oklahoma, kicking off other tribes, they already had stuff here. You know, they already had stuff going on, spooky stuff here. Beings, entities, forest spirits, water spirits, the wind spirits, they had all those things already. But us southeastern tribes, Cherokees, Seminole, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Osages were moved here. They were from Missouri area. I'm missing one, but anyways, when we were removed, we brought some of our stuff here. I was a long time ago. I heard this story from a Seminole gentleman, basically telling that the tie snake or the horn snake came. That's how they came. It followed them here. I have an ancestor who was a very prominent medicine man, Jackson Lewis. He helped Choctaws with their medicine. He would get a call. He'd be how the stories go is he'd just be at the house hanging out, and he'd look and there'd be a Choctaw guy riding up. And he'd kind of give him come on, we need your help. And so he'd go. Baby Katie said, Okmulgee. Golly, Okmulgee. I played a few times at the Dome up there. I had to retire. SKB said, I used to want to go to Tulsa tunnel tours, but now I have no desire. I don't know if the downtown ones are that scary. I haven't heard much. Rural Gestures are deep in Tulsa. I'm not even sure who that is. Dang, Chance is pulling out deep stuff. Baby Katie says, tap the live on my behalf. Chance is just dropping all types of knowledge in here. I'm really late on this chat, y'all. I apologize, but I'm just yapping. You know what's crazy? I'll tell y'all a crazy Uber story. I used to do Uber back probably 2018. And this is back when Uber first got to Tulsa. And I'm riding around. I get a notification to pick somebody up. If y'all know where the Fox and Hound used to be, off Garnett and 71st, right across from Target. There used to be a bar there called Fox and Hound. And there's a hotel behind it. And I was picking up it was like I could tell it was an older couple. They might have been in their late 70s. It's a crazy story. I probably shouldn't tell it, but I'm going to. It's funny too. But I picked them up and I'm like, oh yeah, these people they're older. So I pick them up and we're just chatting it up, and I'm looking where they're going. I said, God bless, they're going all the way to Sand Springs. And I was like, man, this is bad. This is bad news. I said, I don't know where these, and they were uppity. They're from Austin, Texas. They were really uppity. Like, I'm talking uppity. Dude tipped me like $40. Like, nothing. Like, it was, oh yeah, here's some change. It's like $40. Like, $40 is at 2018? You know, that's decent money, you know. You could do a few things with $40 in Tulsa. So I'm driving them, they're talking, and they're like, yeah, we were going to this place that we go to every time we're in the Tulsa area. And I'm like asking them, like, oh, okay, what's inside? I'm trying to like maybe find a new bar to go to. You know, I'm just trying to chat it up. And they're like, yeah, it's real vivacious. That was a word. That was a disgusting ass word, but vivacious is what they said. I was like, vivacious? Ugh. That's about to be nasty work. So I drop them off, and I don't know. I can't describe to you. It's in Sand Springs. This place is right next to a railroad track, next to a casino. I'm spooked out right now. My Xbox just turned on by itself. Oh, no, guys. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, gosh. I'm a little nervous. That thing just turned on. Oh, man. All right, I'm a little creeped out. I ain't going to hold you. I'm sitting over here. I'm going to see if I can try to... I don't want y'all to see my raggedy... I'm going to see if I can... Let's flip the camera. That bad boy turned on by itself. I'm over here. Oh, no. They got me, chat. Oh, man, they got me. What is that? Oh, my God. Nah, that's crazy. Let me go back here and chat, y'all. So I'm gonna finish telling this story. I'm a little spooked, but so I drop them off, and like I said, this place is in Sand Springs, off right next to a railroad track, connected to a gas station. And this place looks kind of run down. It was a CBD shop, I believe, in there too. I drop them off, and I said, y'all have a good night. They're like, oh, we will. And I was like, oh, God, this is about to be vivacious. I do it all night, basically. About 3 a.m. rolls around. I get a ding on the app. I got to go to Sand Springs. I'm like, oh, hell, I'm picking up the same people I dropped off. I'm like, this is about to... Like, I live for these moments, to see something come full circle. I go. I pick them up. I see them. They're so cooked, so drunk. Man, I haven't... like cooked. Like they had to have been doing drugs in there. It had to be something. They get in the car. She's got a full beer. He's got a full plastic cup of something drinking, whatever. And I could tell they're cooked, and they stink. They stink like, how I say they stink like. So obviously it smelled like sweaty people. Thank you, appreciate that. I have to look and see who did it. So I pick them up. They come into my car. I'm getting a waft of just like, you could tell they was in there doing work, if you know what I mean. They was in there clapping cheeks. I know they were. I had to be because it stunk like it. It was gross. And so I was like, dang, these people are late 70s in here wilding out like this. So they're telling me about their night and how they're telling me like they're loose, they're cooked. So they're like, yeah, we're swingers and this is kind of what we do here. And I'm like, and I get in my head, I'm like, in Sand Springs, they be swinging like this? Really in my head, I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. And so I ended up dropping him back off at the hotel. He slid me another it was like $100 or something crazy. It's like 3 a.m. And he's like, you have a good night there. I said, yeah, you too. I was like, ugh. But yeah, that's a I don't know, this disgusting Uber story that I have. I have a few of them. In that same time, and around that same hotel, there was a guy that I'd picked up who was on the run. I didn't know he was on the run. Let's see here. Fox and the Hound was on 71st and Garnett, over there next to a Mexican restaurant. It's 71st and Garnett, so that's right where that main drag is, right off 169. Nothing worse than an uppity Texan, I agree. Shirley, I couldn't run, man. I saw the tip on the app, and I saw the money passed to me. I said, I'm going to have to deal with these old people, man. I'm going to have to let them cook. Chance said this happens to me all the time. I'm used to the creepiness too, but man, I was not expecting. I was thinking I was going to get let off free tonight. That seems to be happening a lot on other creators' lives who talk about paranormal. Just weird stuff, man. I think it's because I think everybody's got their focus on this on this right here. And y'all are giving me. Yep, time to sage. I'll probably do it after, honestly. Nothing like smoking off in the middle of something and then you keep doing it and then it comes back. Turns out my niece has been interacting with LP in my house. Had a family friend who is, dang. Masonic rings I've collected. Yeah, Chance, you're crazy, dude. You're a crazy guy. Medicine, excuse me. Dang, I'm scared. Yo, I'll be laughing at my own jokes, y'all. I don't have no shame. A medicine lady come and smudge and bless the house. Heard from her. Dang. Helen, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Anytime that you guys heart me, man, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Somebody got tagged in here. Tyson got tagged in here. Well, respect. Trent, what's going on with you, brother? Dang, I love your name. Oh, by the way, shout out to Trent. He kept us alive the other night. He kept his, I saw, he was posting videos, and his hand was like this after, he was like, oh, like this, after tapping the screen 30,000 times or whatever he did. He was looking like that guy from Scary Movie 2, just crusty, man. Just calloused up, man. He hit that screen so much. We don't crash out. I love your name. Me B says stay vivacious. That's crazy. I've never heard anyone under the age of maybe 70 say that. Vivacious. That's disgusting. Tyson said my grandpa was born and raised in Omogi County. I've heard crazy stories from there. Well, let me know. Send me some. I'd like to hear them. Oh, he was saying hi to you, baby, Katie. I was wondering, I was like, dang, I heard giving government names. I hear just doxing people like that, Tyson. No, I'm just kidding with you. Vivacious. I should have named this stream Vivacious. But yeah, Trent said his fingers is all mangled. God, looking raggedy. That's Raggedy Ann. That's Raggedy Trent right there. But yeah, Vivacious is disgusting. I'm sorry. Yo, when if someone said, "Yo, yeah, we getting Vivacious tonight," oh no, you know they about to be on some greasy behavior. About to be the greasiest of greasy. Can't even believe it. Oh, your government name is actually Katie. Dang. Oh, I was like, man. I don't know who he was talking to then. Oh, I think he auto-corrected. I'm assuming. Dang, stinky back behavior. Dang, baloney grease behavior. Golly. Out here acting vivacious in Sand Springs like that. Sand Springs don't even deserve that. I don't even know what that place was. So when I dropped them off, I kind of like when I pulled up, the door was opening, so I could kind of see in there, and there were strobe lights. It was like a bar. It looked like a bar. But part of this, I guess I'm missing parts of the story because I was long-winded. But yeah, like I remember them telling me it's kind of a swingers joint is what I heard. But I don't know, man. That so many random moments in my Lyft and Uber journeys, man. I've had a guy I had picked one guy up and had to pull him out the car because he was trying to say that I wasn't his driver, but he still got in my car. It's just stupid stuff. I'm surprised they didn't even kick me off the app. I've had people tell me their deepest, darkest secrets, like I don't have a podcast with almost 10,000 people on it. I'm about to share their dirty secrets on here. Nah, I wouldn't do that. But we get to 10,000, y'all. Tell y'all a story, and then right now, as y'all are clicking, let me know what story you want me to tell at 10K. I have let's see here. I'm trying to think. I can tell my doll story. I got a haunted doll story out of Houston, Texas that happened to me. I might have been 21. That's like 10 years ago. Gah, that's an old man right there. Y'all looking at an old man. You know what, too? For some of y'all that have been in my stream a bunch of times, y'all didn't say nothing about my haircut. If I beat the Danny McBride allegations, I'll let y'all take a look right here. Did I beat the Danny McBride allegations? Tell me in the chat, please. I've been trying to beat them for almost 3 years now. They're undefeated. I'm losing this. I'm losing this battle against Danny McBride right now. Dang, we're getting up to 10K quick. I appreciate you guys coming in and out, man. Me B says, looks good, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, Me B has probably been one of my longest, other than another guy. Me B has been with the Warcry podcast bandwagon basically the entire time. Oh, my God. My wife's in here talking crazy. I was sitting here thinking you were Danny McBride this whole time. God bless. I had a guy come and say, hey, dude, does anyone ever tell you look like Danny McBride? I was like, yeah, it's my cousin. I'm his nephew. I'm his uncle, cousin, nephew, brother. And I always like pulling people along like that. Lots of federal informants and residing in a trailer park. I was. No, I'm just kidding. Shirley says we are at 10K. So since she called it out, Miss Shirley, if I'm saying your name right, what topic would you like for me to tell a story about? This is on you now. It's a lot of pressure. There's 9 people in here, waiting for this story. So you tell us, Shirley, Cheryl, okay, there we go. You tell us what topic would you like? Putting you on the spot. Anything you can name. Maybe I might have it. But yeah, I'm trying to beat those allegations. Those Danny McBride. I'm his cousin. Cheryl dropping the ball on us. I'm putting you on the spot though. I'm sorry. But usually when people call it out, I have to. Sometimes I just start yapping. I don't see it going on. So let me know. Somebody help her out. Maybe somebody in the chat can help her out with the topic or with a story topic. Seems like LP has been very popular as of late. Oh, tell the Dono story. Which one? He's told a few of them. Dono from Red Scares. He has. I have never. One thing about his podcast is he tells stories that are spooky, but they're kind of nice. About the guy that followed him home. I can't remember that one. I know he was leaving a friend's house and he was walking home, but there was a guy following him home. But I can't remember the full story. I might have to go back and listen to that episode. Now he does tell a crazy snake story, like a tie snake story, horn snake story. I guess in Canada they're silver. But my dad heard that story and literally was like, golly. Yeah, I'm not. With the tall man, I hadn't even broached that topic yet. I don't even have any stories about that. I told one minor one about I had a family member take a picture of it. But yeah, once we hit 10K, Miss Cheryl, she's still in here. She's gonna be picking the topic unless someone else comes up with a topic and we vote on it. We believe in democracy in this live. Clowns. I told a little bit of the one. I'll tell you the second story. I didn't really tell a lot of the second one. So, Miss Rodriguez, who runs the original, original Ghost Stories from the Res account. So she's created this group on Facebook, got 100,000 people in it. She told a story about a clown driving these kids, and on that res, I think it's Wind River. It's like a unaliving suicide clown. People start having bad thoughts when they see him. Well, she was coming in one time, and she thought she could hear carnival music. And I remember asking her, I said, was it like it? She was like, no, this thing looked like a normal clown. Like if you would go to the circus, it just looked like a regular clown. But literally he was like doing crazy dance moves and telling her to come over there like it would. And she had her mother with her, and her mother kind of looked at her and she started kind of like, it was like got her in a trance. And it was trying to bring her towards him. And the mother opened the door and yanked her back into the house. But she says that people see those clowns out on their res, Wind River Res. She says there's a lot of sometimes drug and alcohol affects it, different things like that. And when it comes to, having addiction issues, especially in Native communities, I feel like a lot of our beings, they do tell us, hey, this is not the right path. Hey, you shouldn't do this. Blood and Myth is a perfect example of that. If you guys haven't seen that documentary on Hulu. But, since I kind of already told that story before, so I'm going to give y'all one from Rod from Lodge Tales. He just came in here earlier. I meant to say something to him, but we just had too much going on here. Rod, if you're still in here, shout out to Rod from Lodge Tales. This is his story. I don't want to take credit for it. This is his story, so he has a lot more stories that he could tell about this goat man. I've heard a goat. There he is, Rod from Lodge Tales. Go follow him. If you guys hit his icon, hit follow. That's a guy to follow. He's Blackfeet. He has a lot of great stories. But my crowd hasn't heard this one story, and this is along the lines of kind of an alcohol spirit or a kind of a mental health spirit. And Rod, if I tell this story wrong, tell the chat. Say you did terrible. I'll give the highlights. on his reservation, he sees, or people see. I can't remember if he said that he's seen it or not. But on his reservation, people see it's a man, but he's always being a little overindulgent on alcohol. And he told a story about a time when there were some guys out at the parking lot, out there kind of drinking, hanging out, and a gentleman walks up and he's got some alcohol with him. And those guys out there hanging out, and one of the guys realized that they had passed that bottle around. That bottle should be almost empty. And he looked at it, it was full. And they all kind of realized, and I can't remember the last part of the story, but I know that they saw hooves walking away. Or there was hooves around. And that was that goat man. He's kind of an alcohol spirit. It's kind of what Rod says on his podcast. So shout out Rod from Lodge Tales. He's, like I said, got a lot of great stories. He's going to be on my 100th episode. I know he's been holding out on me. Or I've been holding out on him about getting a time. I'm trying to get everything taken care of. I'm going to be getting a new phone here pretty soon. This phone is crapping out, and I have had a lot of battery issues with the platform that I have. That's a lot of the reason. It's mine. But he tells some crazy goat man stories. I think his sister saw one. I know that he has some police information about them chasing one. So go check his content out. I want to preface that. And Rod, if I butcher that story, I apologize. Go listen to the podcast. He tells it in great fashion. He's also an excellent storyteller too, as well. Cheryl says he has some good ones. Yeah, he does. Man, he had some good ones. He had me kind of like, dang. Jess says you should look into Ada for some hauntings in Kanawha. What's crazy is I have a couple Kanawha stories. I got to go look at the notes, and I got to go. I want to say it might be a nursing home story. But thank you, Rod. I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad. Was that your buddy? Who was that? Who was that saw that guy? Was it I can't remember if it was your buddy or if it was somebody who just was telling you that story. Meeby says I spent some of my school years in Pawnee. So spooky, especially Deer Woman stories. If we get some comments in the live were filtered to protect the community's experience. Oh no. Who was doing it? Some of y'all in here talking greasy. Just too greasy for us, I guess. Oh my goodness. So one thing TikTok does in the middle of the live is they tell us that, like, hey, you have been inactive for a while. I'm going to end the live. All right, is everything good? Perfect. We get to 20K. I'll tell you a story that was told to me by a Comanche woman. She when she was a little girl or a younger girl, hanging out with some friends, they ran into old Deer Lady. Dang. Okay, he's on TikTok. Okay, Running Crane. I'm gonna have to follow him. Yeah, that's a great story, man. That's a great story. We don't get a lot of goat man stories here. I think it might just be, like you said, we talked about this on the episode, but it's like a area. I got like I said, I got a few Deer Woman stories. Let's see here. So if we get to 20K, I'll tell one from a Comanche woman who and it was creepy too. I ain't gonna hold you. It was a really creepy story. I even got goosebumps hearing it. She laughed about it too, like this is normal. I was like, maybe I'm living right. I don't know. But I hope everyone's doing all right. Jess said she's from Kanawha, the old Sacred Heart Church. Okay. Yeah, I have some Kanawha stories. I just have to go look in my archives, and a lot of times I do a horrific job of copying and pasting DMs I get from people. I want to say it's a nursing home story I have from Kanawha. I believe. I could be wrong though. I have to go look. Rod from Lodge Tales says my res is full of stories. There's so many man stories as well. Dang. He does. I'm telling y'all. Never heard of it. I'm trying to think of what nursing home. I don't know. I have to check. That's going to bother me, Jess. I'm sorry. Goatman, Dogman, Batman, Horseman. Y'all got centaurs. I forgot about that. I got to tell a centaur story, too. I haven't told that one in a long time. That was told to me from somebody who lives up in Canada. They got centaur stories. I might have mentioned it before, but sometimes I forget what I tell on lives. I'm just vibing out. But let's see here. But I appreciate y'all coming in here and hanging out. This town has maybe 1,000 people in it. No red light, $1 general and Sonic. Dang, ain't nothing there. So it may not be a nursing home story then. And I can't, like I said, I can't remember exactly what it was. I know that I've seen people say that they've seen, different things out there. I just cannot, for the life of me, remember. But I'm definitely gonna check now since you joined in. I'll be on the lookout. I got a really good story today. I haven't got permission to tell it regarding kind of a hyena type cryptid walking around. I want to say out in Apache Y, or out there by Apache Lake, actually. I heard about that. Rod says the talking animal stories are outright chilling. Man, for real though, I don't really have a lot of those stories. I don't know if people are seeing those like that or medicine like that. Jess says Headstone said killed by human wolves. Yeah. What's crazy is I did a small deep dive on that on Creepy Oklahoma 1, episode number 1, or part 1. And I remember this is one thing that I've said this before, and I've said this in comments. The Western world medicine, so the science, one thing I don't agree with a lot of the way that they go about when things are not explainable, as it not being real. And on that story specifically, I remember they said that because the wolf was really a man. It's how that story allegedly played out. Now, I don't know. I mentioned that in the episode. But I have Creepy Oklahoma 1 and 2. And then my whole podcast is all Oklahoma stuff. Sprinkled in with a few, different stories from people I got, get stories from. Talking owls, dogs, cats, and ghost horse was whistling a song at night. Ugh. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a man and she basically they said that he was like a savage or something. Is what kind of the way that he was just a wolf. Like wolves are, like they just kill type of thing. And Louis said, "What's your thoughts on Thunderbird?" You know what's crazy? I don't really hear a lot of Thunderbird stories around here. I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion about them or thoughts. I haven't heard much about them. I know a lot of Western tribes hear about them. Meebe says, any stories about mixing timelines, like house not there, town's not there? Oh, man. Okay. Y'all let me know in chat. There's a story that I heard at Eufaula Canadian Tribal Town about that situation. Kind of a weird house, no one being there, but it was fully stocked. Similar to mixing timelines, houses not being there. We can do that story, or we can do the Comanche Deer Woman story. So which one do y'all let me know when we get to 20K, which one y'all want to do? I have not heard about the shark in there. Jess, you're full of information. I'm going to have to look into some of this stuff. Conowal sound like they got a lot of stuff going on out there. I haven't heard any of that. Like I said, I'm not, I know Conowal's west, right? Western Oklahoma? Or northern Oklahoma? or kind of north central. Maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not familiar. But yeah, we can do, when we get to 20K, we can either do We can do a house a weird house story, kind of timelines, or which was about a guy who woke up in a house that I don't think existed. That one, or we can do a Comanche Deer Woman story. Y'all let me know in the chat. And I'm gonna take votes. So whatever you say, that's what we're gonna do. It's at 20K. Lake Thunderbird about the shark. Oh, I haven't heard that. Was it a bull shark? Lake Thunderbird. There's rumors of an octopus in there. Trent Davis says Deer Woman. Okay, we got one Deer Woman. Missing house. All right, we're 1-1. Deer Woman story or missing house. Those are the options for 20,000. Now the octopus thing in Thunderbird Lake. I remember hearing on one episode, or not one episode. I know that there was an Animal Planet show that talked about it, but I read one summer Thunderbird Lake had like record drownings because of something. So we got, let's see, we're 2-2. Missing house and Deer Woman, we're tied 2-2. We're getting close. We got about 4,000. We got time, so we're 2-2 right now. I got to remember that. But I know Lake Thunderbird had, some crazy drownings. I can't remember how long ago it was. And yeah, boats were attacked. I'd heard all that. I know Ten Killer Lake has had, some stuff. That's kind of more Illinois River is really what I know a lot about. Was on there. I was basically on there, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, sometimes 5 days. I was out there every day, a couple weeks out of the summer. And we'd go out there in the wintertime. Then we'd always get kind of kicked out, too. They're like, y'all can't be out here. But we're 2-2, either missing house or I guess that's what we can call it, missing house or Deer Woman story. So we're 2-2 for those of you guys coming in. At 20K, I'm gonna tell. We got two options. We have a Deer Woman story, or we have a missing house, missing time, weird story like that. Jess said she almost died in Illinois River this summer. Oh, don't even get me started on Illinois River. I could tell you for days. All right, we're 3-2, y'all. 3-2. Missing house. Kelly, thank you for sharing the live, and thank you for voting. We're 3-2. Missing house is winning. Thank you so much. 5 guys saved me, and I got stuck in a tree. Wow. Man. Yeah, I could tell you some stories about Illinois River and people almost drowning. All right, we're 4-2. Missing house. Yeah, Illinois River is not to be played with. That water is more than dangerous. There's things in there that people, cannot explain. There was one summer, might have been 2016, summer of 2016. They weren't even reporting drownings. At that point, there were so many drownings on that river, and I remember seeing and hearing about them when I was on the river. People was listening to the radio, say, "Oh, so and so passed away." Maddie Cake says, "Hey from Kingfisher, what's going on with you, girl? Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're having a good night. Thank you for joining me on this illustrious Monday evening." What's going on out in Kingfisher? You got any scary stories out that way? You would think that they would clean it up better. So one thing that's crazy about that river is it goes through cycles. So when I first started really going out there heavy when I was like a senior in high school, it was really dirty. And then a couple years later, it was really clean. And then again, it does that. And every cycle there is a flood. And I'm telling you, it's that tie snake. That's its home. You don't mess with its home. Matty Cake says, "I'm good. How are you?" I'm doing excellent. I am doing really well. Anything going out in Kingfisher, Miss Maggie? Hope is anything spooky out that way? I ain't heard much about Kingfisher. Dang, Trent said Vivacious Monday. Nah, that's crazy. Vivacious is insane. I still cannot believe that. But the summer before it flooded really bad and it basically damaged the entire river. There was I remember going Saturdays and Sundays for that, and then sometimes Friday mornings when I skipped class. I remember hearing people drowning on the river, even when it wasn't busy. And I remember specifically Memorial Day. That was one of the worst that I've seen in the amount of people that drown. And what's crazy is I've done so many searches through Cherokee Phoenix, through different News on 6, KOK 5, and you cannot find a lot of those drownings. All right, Trent. So we were at Missing House was the winner, I believe. Thank you for reminding me, Trent. Okay. So this story has been told a few times, and I'm going to tell you this was out, and this is a road that has had a lot of weird stuff. This is out, I believe, around Eufaula, and I cannot remember the highway, but I want to say it might be West Eufaula, but I can't. Don't quote me. But this was told a lot of times, and the gentleman that told it, his name was Mike, but I can't remember his last name. I don't want to say his name anyways, but I remember asking my grandpa at the time, hey, can you have him tell that story? Because I was fascinated by this. And this is, outside of Hanna, Oklahoma. Outside of Hanna, Oklahoma is where this happened. Hanna is creepy too. Talk about one of those Muskogee Creek towns, man. Creepy. All right. He was walking home one night, and he was, they had been drinking, been hanging, doing young people things. And he was just feeling real kind of groggy, just real I need to sit down for a minute. And his friends were like, no, we need to keep going. We need to keep going. We're almost there. And he's like, no, I'm going to go sit down at this tree. And so he does, and he's sitting there. He's trying to get his bearings. Sometimes you just go a little too hard. And he fell asleep. I remember falling asleep at the bottom of this tree. And he woke up, and he was in a bed. And I believe he had someone else's clothes on. And the way he described this house was old timey. It had, he said, I don't remember if he said that it had modern fixtures, but he could tell it was furnished. So it had tables, it had chairs, it had a nice warm bed, blankets, clothes. The house was furnished. And when he got up, he was, going to say thank you for helping me out and, getting me where I need to go. And, he wanted to tell the person thank you for helping him out, and he couldn't find nobody. There was nobody in that house. And when he was like, well, I'm leaving, trying to, leave, he goes out the door, and he looks, and it's like I said, it looks like a normal house, just normal house out in the middle of this. Basically, he said it was like a pasture around the house, and it was like trees. And so he just kind of started walking, and he finally found his way home. But he never knew where that house went. He said that he'd asked around, and he said, I don't know what house you're talking about. It's one of those houses that, could have been LP house, it could be anything. But he told that story a few times. I remember asking my grandpa, can you have him tell that story again? And I asked him, and I'm always, like I said, I'm weird. When I tell you guys stories on my podcast, and when I share videos on TikTok, and even on YouTube, when I tell you the stories, I've already clarified with other people, about things that go on. It's not that I don't believe the person who has told me the story. I just want to know if there's more than one sighting of this. So with this story, I was older, and I knew that I had a guy who played on my basketball team. I'm not a semi-pro. I used to play in a basketball league in Tahlequah, Marcoma. And I used to ask, I found out from my dad that this guy was from Hannah. So I asked him, I said, well, hey, have you heard anything about kind of a mystery house out in Hannah? He kind of looked at me. He said, I've heard a few things about that. I said, will you tell me the story? Tell me some stories? He said, well, I will sometime. And he just never told me. Eventually, maybe I might link up and see if I can ask something. But yeah, he had confirmed that people had been at that house before. Same house. I said, I can't remember the details of the house was log or if it was brick, but he said it looked just like a normal house, but just no cars, no driveway. Basically, just you walk right into the woods and you're there. But yeah, let me know what y'all think of that story. Let me know in the chat if y'all. But yeah, like I said, that's what I do, and I get not offended, but I get kind of miffed at people and say, "Oh, that didn't happen." And it's like I have asked around about things. I try not to. I try to be as, try to get as good as stories, but also too true stories and stories that like people have experienced. Because I never want people to think that they're crazy for telling me a story. And I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, I don't want you to tell this because I sound crazy." The hyena cryptids is a big one. That's a huge one that I've had people who. Literally, when I take the notes of it, like when I get their story, they ask me not to share their name, and I don't. So I don't put it in my notes, and I just move on. It's always there. I have it to remember, but I don't remember the person's name. And it might have been one chance encounter in that person, But I've had a lot of people, especially about the hyena cryptids. I've had people, tell me that they've seen this thing, and that they sound crazy because. And I think it is a little crazy about the hyena cryptids because I had asked somebody who is a biologist about this. I was like, why are people seeing this thing? Why are people seeing a hyena-like creature running around all Oklahoma? And if you guys want me to tell another hyena story that I haven't told in a while here on TikTok, 30K, and we'll do hyena cryptid story, or we'll do deer woman story, or the two. We get to 30K. Those are the two options. But I asked this biologist, this guy who works in science. He's a scientist, and he was telling me that when hyenas are in a pack, they're very vicious. They are very bold. That was a good one. Seen things in Kanawha. I heard of the deer woman. Take my good hand. Dang, for real. Y'all gonna? I mean, I'm remembering stories tonight, y'all. I'm remembering stories I haven't told in a long time. Y'all giving me keywords and I'm remembering things. But I was talking to this biologist. He's out of Ohio, and he's a Cryptids of the Corn podcast host. Mr. E is what he goes by. But he's a scientist. He works in this field. And I asked him, I said, well, when hyenas are in a pack, they're like, you think of the Lion King. You think of, like a scavenger predator. And he says they are like that in packs. They feel bold in packs. They think they can take down anything in packs. He's talking about hyenas. And so then I said, well, what about them if they're separated from their group and they're alone? And he says they're totally different creatures. He said that their habits change. They're less likely to confront anything. It could be a horse and a cow, and it won't go after it because it doesn't have the confidence. And he says that basically they're more clever. You won't see them. They'll be right there. You may walk by it, and you'll never see it. He said that they've seen puppies who have grown up. And I've read this too, that the puppies that'll grow up, single, they are like this. Like I said, I always have to look it up for myself when people tell me things. And I've seen different things like that. So it's very fascinating about this hyena thing running around here in Oklahoma. I haven't heard much outside of Oklahoma. And I know that there are different ways that this could be happening. You have the circuses that, were disbanded. You had different things where people had let go of very dangerous animals out into our habitats. Yeah, Trent, just like people, we're the same way. We are the same way. When we're by ourselves, we're more apt to just let things go. If we're in a crowd with all our buddies, we've been drinked up, we've buzzed up, shoot, we may get into a brawl. So yes, that is true. And so hyenas are very smart. And when we were at Tuttle, when we were living in Oklahoma City, we went to the Tuttle safari thing that they had, or the Tuttle whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Where they had it, I did not know that they had a hyena. And this is how I know. After I talked to Mr. E about hyenas, and this happened, I knew, okay, this animal is a smart animal. So I'm with my then 2-year-old, just turned 2. She's walking. We're just trying to get her to walk better. We're just trying to get her steps in as a little girl. And I'm looking out into this cage, and it's basically a fence, and then there's like a kind of a rope-like fence around it. And I'm looking in there, I'm like, well, there's nothing in here. And it was basically just kind of grass, like a pasture. And then you could see, like, in the middle, there was like it looked like, maybe like a mud thing type. I don't know how to describe it. But I didn't see nothing. We're looking. I'm like, what is in here? I'm just talking to my daughter, just whatever. And I'm like, oh, there's nothing in here. So let's keep walking. And so we walking out in there. I think that I believe it's tigers that was the next one. Or lions. I can't remember exactly. It was so long ago. But something told me, my fight or flight turned on as we're walking away. Something told me to turn around. And I look, and there's a female hyena, bigger than me. When she was fully looking, like, so this was crazy too. This still to this day spook. Even though there's 2 fences in between us, I could feel like I was prey. I felt like my daughter was prey. So as we're walking, I'm dilly-dallying along, just helping her get along, and I feel something behind me on my left-hand side because the fence is right here. And I feel and I look and I could see that hyena. It was in that crouching position, like it was, like like you ever see like in the savannah when those lions dip their head down and they're getting low. That's what that hyena was doing. And when I turned around and looked, that head came up, and that head was taller than me. That was a big animal. It was a female. I knew in that moment. I said, all right, people may really be seeing this thing out here. Especially with the way that thing reacted when it saw me turn around. When my back was to it, it was hunched like it was coming, like it was lurking, like it was moving forward. And it was very slow and very quiet. And then when I turned around, it kind of came up on its haunches and it looked, and it wasn't scared. It just was like, oh, you can see me now. So when I talked to him about that made perfect sense in my mind of what. Like, these things could probably be out here. And they could be very stealthy, is what he was saying. So, that changed my whole mind. Because I kind of, when people would tell me about these hyena cryptids, I'd kind of be like, oh, maybe. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I need more data in my head. But after I saw that, I said, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because that thing literally, like I said, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I caught it when it was like it was going to pounce. And then when I turned, it kind of came up like you see me now. Oh. Like it was opportunistic. It was creepy. Super strange, but yeah, I'm still thinking about that too. I have not really thought about that story. Yeah, it's like it was like stalking us. But, it can't get to us. But it was stalking us. And I didn't even notice it. I literally looked, I was like, well, there's nothing here. What was the 2? Man, I'm like, was it Deer Woman and what? What was the other one, y'all? Y'all help me out. I think I had another one. Deer Woman and I got down, my whole brain power went towards that little tangent. Was it Hyena Cryptid? I can't remember. And now I can't even remember that story. I'll remember here in a minute. But let me know where you guys are from. Maybe I might have a story for them too. Conowell, yeah, Justice from Conowell. Yeah, I'll definitely look in. I saw him earlier. You and Dale Denton. Who is that? Heineken, yeah. Dale Denton. I wish I knew who Dale Denton was. Grew up in Montana, now living in Utah. Oh, Montana, living in Utah. Grand Lake. There's a few of y'all out here. Different places, that's cool. Yeah, I just never know who's going to come in and who I'm going to meet, and I think it's really cool. But yeah, that hyena thing, man, was creepy. Me B says BA. She's down the road from us, from me. Yeah, I'll shoot you a follow back. I like that. I'm kind of weird about following people back, but if I chat it up and information. It was a Hyena Cryptid. I love your show. I'm from Okmulgee, Oklahoma. A lot of weird stuff happened here. Yeah, Jimmy, you ain't lying. I haven't. At the top of my head, Okmulgee doesn't register any stories. But like a lot of my family stories are from Eufaula, in that area. Black Panthers is another one too that I've heard different stories about too. I need to go back and check my notes. I got notes for just about everything. I tried to anyway. Sometimes, like those earlier episodes, I've lost a lot of those notes because I had to transfer information. It got deleted. But like I said, I try to keep as best notes as I can when it comes to people telling me stories. I usually just copy and paste the thing. Nice. But yeah, we're bebopping along on this night. Like I said, we get to 30,000, and we'll do Deer Woman and we'll do Hyena. Oh, I remember the Hyena story. I could tell. It was a weird one too. It's another Uber story, but it's weird. But hit that like button. Let's get to 30,000. Any other topics you want me to discuss on this lovely evening? On this brisk yet moist evening. Yeah, Black Panthers are interesting too, though, because now this is something that the Oklahoma Fish and Wildlife will never admit to, but they to cull the herd of deer, they released some of those things out into basically. Thank you for the hat. I love doing that. I can't remember what I said. The hat guy. Oh, so but basically they released panthers or cougars or whatever, mountain lions out into, I believe, McIntosh County. So it's very interesting. Meeby says, "What about your friend from?" Oh, he was Eastern Band. Yeah. Derek Morris. Yeah, he has a crazy story that I thought was it's a great story. I can tell that one too if we keep rolling. Yeah, he talked about the camouflage Bigfoot. Yeah, that story is a great story, man. That was one of my early. He was my first ever guest on my podcast, 2023, I believe. Great story. Jimmy says I was friends with Sonny Sampson. He told me some incredible stories. Man, that's cool. I'd like to hear some of those. That's one thing, man. It's like I just kind of keep to myself. That's like who I am. I'm like a lone wolf. Lone wolf in it. Trent Davidson, any more Giant stories? Let's see here. I don't think so. I don't know if I have any in my cranium at this moment. I'll tell you one thing too about Giants that they see them. I know they've seen them in Florida. I know the Kiowas used to see them on the plains. I wonder if that was the Vikings too, because the Vikings were very big human beings at that time. Trying to think. I just don't think I don't think Giants is something. So Giants is something that I'm interested in, but it's just something that when I was younger, I looked into it a lot. I feel like I could get as much as I could out of it. Delta Dawn said, I'm interested in the ghost car story you did a few days ago outside of Wagner. Yeah, that was a weird night, man. It was the weirdest thing too, because this car rode us for like a mile and a half, 2 miles, even 3 miles at the most, and it was like right on the bumper. Like the light, you couldn't even see the light of the headlights. They were so stinking close. And the weird part about it was the fact that it never, like it was so perfect. Like the driving was so perfect. Like it had to be like this close. But we were still just chugging along. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared. It like turned off in the cemetery, disappeared. And I remember looking and I couldn't see anything. And I couldn't remember the highway in the story, but it was Highway 16. Yeah, I got a few owl stories too. Some of them I remember after the fact, after I do lives. But I haven't really heard much from Wagner. The closest that I have is my parents' house, which is, around that area. Y'all saw that video of how thick it is out there by my parents' house. It's just crazy. I would like to know where. So basically, where it started was right before you got to Gibson Station. So on the right hand side, it started. Not on the right hand side. It's Gibson Station. The sign is on the right hand side, but the turnoffs are on the left. So it started right before we got to Gibson Station. Man, I hope that I ain't gonna lie, that would be kind of crazy if those two were related about your aunt. That would really blow my mind, honestly. But I know that down 16 there's a lot of crosses. There's been a lot of wrecks out that way. Because it's 65 and that road is kind of it's skinny. But yeah, we get to 30,000, and like I said, it'll be Deer Woman story, or it'll be a Deer Woman story, or a Hyena Cryptid story. Gibson Station is like you're headed to OK. Okay, it's in between. Gibson Station's in between OK and Wagner. That's where that's from. It's a lot of weird, lot of. I haven't seen a lot of stuff out that way. I'm sure people have seen things, especially at the lake. I want to say someone told me a story a while ago, and I don't really remember the details, but I know it was out at Sequoia State Park. They saw kind of a shadow guy hiking behind them, and then just disappeared, like he kind of was hiding from them. It was weird. I can't remember the full story. Were you going to tell the centaur story? I can eventually. Maybe knows all the stories. She's heard them all. Yeah, no, this is the opposite direction. So Taylor's Ferry is like you're headed to Tahlequah, out that way, like that's in the Tahlequah direction. It's like right off the main street. If you keep going on Main Street in Wagner, you keep going straight. That's like headed out to the lake. Have you heard about Veterans Lake in Sulphur, Oklahoma? I haven't heard much about Sulphur either. I haven't heard much. Man, that's crazy. There's a few places that maybe I need to start putting the word out. Maybe somebody will send me a story out that way. Yeah, Jess has given me a few places to dig and give me some homework, I guess. Yeah, we get to, let's see, we're at 26. We get to 30K. Like I said, we're going to start now. The vote Do you want cryptid, or you want a hyena cryptid story, or do you want a deer woman story? Let's hear it. That's which one you want to hear at 30K. That's the two. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying my content. I'm glad you're enjoying my lives. My lives are pretty subdued, but they're a lot of fun because there's a lot of people in here that come and go, and they share their opinion. They share story ideas, and I guess some people will call it is building a community. So it's cool, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys coming in here and hanging out. Yeah, Jess, if you go over to YouTube, follow the podcast, subscribe, all that stuff. I have hundreds of hours of content over there. I talk about literally everything, and I explain a lot too. There's a lot of information in there, just told to me. Deer Woman is 3-0 right now. Deer Woman or Hyena Cryptid at 30,000. We will see. We will see. 3-0. But like I said, I decided to go live tonight. The kids went down a little early tonight. I don't have to. I did Friday night. I was up till almost 2 a.m. live. It was a good time. We talked about the time I ate a pound of bologna because my kids wouldn't eat it. I was fat for 3 days. I didn't have to eat. That's what's beautiful about bologna is once you eat a pound of it, you ain't got to eat for 3 days. Some would call that fasting. Fried bologna, too. It ain't even regular bologna. It's fried bologna. Maybe sometimes mustard, sometimes not. Just depends on the vibes that day. Oh, man. I want to know how many arthritis people we got. How many of y'all got arthritis? Big back activities. You're right. 100,000%. Big back, big back. Big back, big back. Yeah, I'm a big back. I'm a big back for sure. We are close. 28K. So right now, Deer Woman is in the lead. 4-0. But yeah, that's just, it's crazy. The amount of, everybody saying me. Yeah, for real though. I guess it'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes you just be hungry for no reason. You just got to eat a pound of bologna, fried bologna. There's just nothing to be judged about. As a kid, I would probably go through bologna every 3 days, fried bologna. That's how nasty I am like that. I don't know if it's nasty though. Bologna's excellent. It's a delicacy. We're almost there, y'all. But I said I appreciate y'all coming in and out, and it's cool. And for those of you guys hearing this on YouTube after the fact, hit the like button, subscribe, comment. Let me know what topic yours was the favorite. Enjoy. Sit back and hang out. It's a comfort meal. Dang, it's more than that. It's life. Bologna is life. Fried bologna is life. Wilder Smoke said, Kenwood store bologna never changed, always bomb. You know what's crazy? You're not the first person I've heard that from. That's crazy. I got a few Kenwood stories too. I could throw out there. I hear. Like I said, I see different words, and my mind starts going boom, boom. The things start popping. What do they call it? The synapses or whatever? They start firing off like firecrackers. Rhonda said, I really like garlic bologna. I have never had garlic bologna, man. That's crazy. Golly. Stomach be growling and breath be kicking. Is it like, let me ask you this before I start ragging, before I start going off. No, I'm just kidding. Is it garlic? Is it garlic, like powder garlic, or is it salt garlic? That's interesting to me. Smoked bologna with barbecue sauce. Yep. Dang, every time it's a holiday, my dad says, "You gonna do some bologna this year?" So I'm not gonna say I'm a master at smoking meat, but I'm good with the meats. That sounded crazy, but I'm good with the meat. I made the best turkey I've ever made in my entire life. Oh, like salt. Okay, so that's not that bad. I was thinking it was like, I don't know what I thought you were like putting actual garlic on it. I'd be like, that's crazy. I was like, dang, she out here sauteing garlic and then smashing it up into a paste and then wiping it on the bologna. I would like, golly. Dracula would want no parts of that. Vampires be like, nah, I'm going away. Trent said garlic bologna is crazy. It is kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie, but hey, I respect the hustle. I respect it. I respect the grind of the garlic bologna. Oh, so yeah, hey, so Rhonda, all right, guys, chill out. She's a veteran. She's one of us. We have jackets. A veteran in this game. Oh my goodness, we're so close. I think one of my smoked bologna is my favorite. I love fried bologna. I'm almost hesitant. I might, you know, Rhonda, I might sprinkle a little garlic salt on my bologna next time for you. See what it's like. Because you never know. Sometimes people, you know, like I'll tell you a crazy story my wife did. So one day I come home for lunch from work, and you know, we just had our first kid. You know, sometimes, you know, her mind just wasn't the same. You know, sometimes you just come out of your body and you drift into the ether. And I come home and I bite. She's like, "Hey, I got some food for you. Got you a sandwich." I said, "Oh, thank God. I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten. I've been at work since 5 a.m. Come home, get my food. And I take that first bite. It's a ham sandwich, be in mind. I take that first bite, and barbecue sauce comes from that sandwich. I almost threw up. I've never had ham and barbecue sauce. Never had it. Rhonda's out of Wagner. Cool. Hey, there we go. There's some Wagner people in here. Y'all showing out. Appreciate that. Hey, Cheryl's going to try the garlic bologna. But yeah, that the barbecue sauce with ham, man, sent me to hell. I ain't going to hold you. I went to hell and back after eating that sandwich. But respect. She was trying to show me something and just ain't hit. It ain't hit like she said. All right, me B. Thank you for letting me know. 30K. We are getting up there, guys. Let's see here. And we got what? Dear Woman's Story. All right, let's lock in. So I was at a powwow. I believe I might have been out in Porham powwow. And we were going around talking to people and trying to get stories and just hanging out, you know, talking to people. And this lady, we were talking to her, and she's Comanche. She was like, "Yeah, I got a story for you. It's a pretty good one." I said, "Oh yeah, it's Comanche, good story. All right, let's hear it." They were all out one night. I can't remember where they were at. They're out in Comanche country. I don't know exactly, and I can't remember where she was, but they were on one of these back roads out that way. And they had the music on a little bit. You know, she was a young girl at the time, and they're hanging out, having a good time. And they had the music on a little bit. You know, she was a young girl at the time. And they're hanging out, having a good time, dancing. They started noticing they heard like a clicking sound. So then when they'd stop dancing, the clicking would stop. And so they're like, "What is that sound?" Well, you know, just kind of thinking whatever. Dancing, they're going to keep dancing, having a good time. And all of a sudden they stopped dancing, and all of a sudden they could still hear clicking. And there was somebody who they didn't know was there, was dancing with them, as Dear Woman. So they stopped and looked, and the clicking was still like somebody was still dancing with them, but they had stopped and they're clicking, and they looked and there was nobody there. I was like, man. She's like, "Yeah, that was Dear Woman," because they were. I think she said that they were in a place that they weren't supposed to be. But yeah, as they said, when they all turned, like I said, they were all, you know, they could see everybody. But once they stopped and they looked around, it was still someone dancing, clicking, click, 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 like hooves hitting the gravel. Crazy. I was like, whoa. I remember my reaction too. I was like, whoa. I was like, yo. I was like, ah. Because she only I've heard this growing up, but she comes around when you ain't acting right, or if you're doing something you're not supposed to. We were out in Hominy, and this is kind of funny, but we were kind of ragging on whoever was telling us this. But they said that there was a real pretty Indian girl kind of sitting up front, and none of us guys who were talking, or like we're seeing anything. But when we were looking at the crowd, we didn't see anybody that was fitting this description of this person. But they said she had long flowing hair and she had on a white dress. And the guy that was telling us, oh yeah, she was real pretty, and we were like, whatever. We were just kind of like, dang. So they went through every picture and they could not find this girl, but the couple of these guys were seeing her. But see, that's where they say that's Deer Woman. But it's crazy too. Yeah, the only difference is the hooves. Yeah, everybody, when your feet are shuffling on, dirt, and, it kind of gives a sliding noise, but then this was clicking. Click, 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 click. But it's crazy that no one saw this woman at this Hominy storytelling event except for these few guys. And some people were with her like, dang, you ain't living right. You seeing her. Just joking with them. But, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, she said that once they heard that clicking noise, they got out of there. Trent Davis said, ever hear of a man with hooves in the bar? So Rod from Lodge Tales has a few of those stories. So if you want to hear any goat man or hooved man, that's Rod from Lodge Tales. That's his. He knows a lot of them. Rhonda says she isn't noticed at first. Yep, she just kind of casually walked in, is what they said. Is what he was saying. But he noticed her, like right off, as she sat down, and like literally, we took pictures of the front row, like they went through the pictures and didn't see any woman matching that description except for that guy telling us that. Yeah, Trent Davis said, go check him out. Rod from Lodge, he was just in here earlier. He tells a lot of great stories, man. I got a lot of respect for that dude. Dr. Tongue, what's going on with you? I hope you're doing all right. But we just told a Deer Woman story out of Comanche country. Let's see here. We're going until my phone dies, y'all, and it's about to die. I'm about to have to call it here in a minute. Here in a little bit. So if y'all want to tap those screens as hard as you can, fast as you can, we get to 40K, and I'll give y'all one last story, and I'll let y'all pick. I'll let y'all be the deciders. Let y'all tell me what's going on. But I appreciate everyone who has sent gifts, and I just appreciate everybody who's been coming in here and joining and sharing different things and giving me ideas about stuff. Sometimes I just, like I said, I just hear so many stories, and I get people sending me stories or commenting stories, and I forget about a lot of that stuff. Meeby said something earlier that I might have to tell a story about. I can't remember what. I was going back here and looking. Oh, we have I can tell Derek Morris's story about the disappearing Bigfoot, camouflage Bigfoot. That could be, if that's something y'all be interested in hearing about. I got the hyena cryptid story that I could tell out of Bigsby, Oklahoma. But, no, Jess, you're all right. You're okay. The likes are enough for me. If you guys gifting me, I appreciate it so much. Like, I want to just say that it does mean a lot to me that you guys do that. But it's not required. If you can hit the screen as many times as you want to, that helps me get in the algorithms. It's funny. I get a lot of people who comment sometimes on my posts and be like, "Dang, I'm seeing you everywhere." And even my family members like, "Dang, you Dreamer's Delight, you just missed one, man. You just missed a Comanche Deer Woman story, Deer Lady story. Just missed it." So if you miss something, There's a link in my bio for the YouTube. I'm going to export it over to YouTube, and you can watch the full stream on YouTube. That'll probably be on maybe sometime this week. But yeah, if you want to see, if you're missing this, if you're just coming in, you're like, dang, it sounds like he's about to wrap it up. Like I said, go over to YouTube. I got all the other past streams. There's a lot of stories there, guys. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of stories. Maybe says, when do you go live on YouTube? I haven't been live on YouTube in months. I have not been as active. I just post the videos. I just post like the replay of these streams. Makes it a little bit easier. And plus, here on TikTok, I feel like the algorithms are better. Like, the algorithms favor what I'm talking about. Over there on YouTube, I feel like it's just like, I might get 100 views on a video. But yeah, if you ever want to go back and listen to old streams, they're up now. I think I got like 4 or 5 up there. It's like 10 hours of content I posted in the last month. And this is content because, and also too, that's, if you guys notice too, I always like read your name and the comment, because when people on YouTube hear this, they're like just seeing me talking. And so I give them a little, like, not heads up, but just kind of like a heads up, I guess. But we get to 40,000. My phone's about to die. If we can get to 40,000, like I said, I could tell a Bigfoot camouflage story. I'm trying to think of what else I have. We can do a hyena cryptid story out of Bigsby, Oklahoma. We can do. You know what? Since we're live, I'm not gonna tell that story. I was thinking about it. Jess said, "This is my first time seeing you live, and I was excited. I love your stories." Well, I appreciate it. I live your stories. Dang, be living the stories as I tell them. No, I'm just kidding. But I appreciate it. That means a lot. I try to go. Usually from now on, I'll try to go live in the evenings. But it's hit and miss. So if you see me go live, yeah. But like I said, there's so many stories over on YouTube, Spotify, all those beautiful places. We get to 30,000. We're drying up. It looks like Meeby's the only one hitting the likes. We got 11 people in here. Is there any topics that you guys want me to talk about right now until we get to 40,000? You can throw out anything. I talked about underground bases earlier. I talked about astral projection and how I had a cousin of mine who saw something that wasn't of this world. We talk about everything. Dreamers of Life said LP. All right, we'll do LP. Vampires. Those are good ones. We'll do LP first. So one thing about LP, I think that they do have some responsibility in missing 411. I do believe that. I had someone, and you know what's crazy? This idea of this would have never crossed my mind until someone at a storytelling event said, I think because LP has been known to make people have missing time. I had my aunt, she was telling me at a Father's Day event a couple of years ago that they can kind of scrunch, they can scrunch up an area, hop through, and then unscrunch it, and then be, miles away. That's how they can reappear and appear quickly. I was always told never to mess with their trails. Growing up, my grandmother had she was living real rough out in Bunch, Oklahoma. She had a real tough childhood. She's passed away almost 15 years now. It was crazy too. Today we were at the zoo today with my kids, and I saw a monarch butterfly following us. She really liked monarchs. That was her butterfly. But it was just following me and my girls over to the kangaroo section of it, and I was like, dang, I wonder if that's her. But I think about her a lot, But damn, I'm getting sad over here. Anyways, but growing up, she basically lived in a house that had a blanket for the door. it was real rough out that way. They didn't really have a lot of, resources. But her aunt, who always, left out stuff for these LP. And one night she was a little girl and she woke up, thought she heard something kind of walking on the floor, and she looked and there was an LP, grabbing the food and, getting what it needed. And she was real scared. She's kind of turned back real quick, and I've never, the detail that escapes me in this moment. And I asked my dad this because she had told him this, what he looked like, and I want to say it was like one of those old school looking Indians that you see back in the days, but her house sat on one of their trails. When that house went up, they didn't realize that they went through there. So out of respect, they did those things, left a plate out for them, gave them water, and did those things. I've had relatives who told me, that especially Yahola Senior, OG Yahola, Tiger is the OG, but he would always tell them kids, if y'all gonna mess around, you need to fix, if you're gonna go out in the woods and mess around. I want to say it's him. I could be wrong now. Like I said, sometimes stories get mixed, especially with LP. It's just there's so many stories out there from my family, but like I remember it was either him or someone else in the family was like, if you go out there and mess around, you need to fix it. And I want to say somebody brought something home one time, brought something back to the house, and he told them, you got to take that back, put it exactly where you got it, because that's theirs. This is their, we don't mess with them, but we respect them. But now there is bad ones out there, and I had someone in the comments say, "Oh, well, it sounds like they're demons," and I that's where I always get irritated with. And no disrespect to Christians and people who believe that way, but I do get irritated when I see people calling native beings evil. Evil is subjective. Evil's not a fact. One person could think this is evil, another person could think that's good. But these beings are either good or bad. They do things when you mess with them. It's like if you poked a bear, and eventually that bear is going to get you. And that's what these entities do. But it's LP is a very broad topic. I've received stories from people. Now this is crazy. This is at a bunkhouse in Eufaula. I can't remember the church, but it's one of those Indian Baptist churches. They said one time they had a bunkhouse out there, and there was a guy. This is kind of funny, but there was like the guy wasn't really acting right, or he was out too late or something out one of those bunkhouses. And they walked out one night, and the guy was basically floating off the ground like real little off the ground, and he was just floating like he was headed out to the woods. And he said them LP was taking him because he wasn't acting right. I was like, God, that's crazy. Let's see here. I'm missing a few comments here. Wild, thank you for the follow. We'll talk about vampires right now. This is a light subject. We'll hit it quickly. But I believe every culture has these beings that take. I know like Eastern European have vampires that take blood. I know Chinese have things that take essence. We have things here that they take essence too, or they take life force, so they extend their lives. And I mentioned this briefly, and I've mentioned this on the podcast. There's a whole episode over vampires where I reviewed Sinners, the movie, and then talked about raven mockers. But I believe that's what raven mockers are, is a form of, vampiric taking of things from people. Well, I hate that quickly. Dreamer's Life said, good old blanket doors. Literally, man, she was out there roughing it. Jess, it was nice sitting here tonight. Can't wait for more. Hope everyone has a good night. Thanks, Jess, for hopping in here. Appreciate you. Lightning Yellow Hair, what's going on with you? I hope you're doing all right. Meeb says, have you ever heard LPs live in dead tree trunks? I've heard that. I've heard that that they've they lived in those. I've heard that they're underground. I've heard that they are in rock fields, like boulder fields. There's a classic story, Muskogee Creek story, and I've heard Cherokee too talk about this, how they have the ability to move big boulders, and they go into their lair or their den or whatever, and they're always surrounded by snakes. It's pretty interesting. Dreamers Delight, yeah, that's crazy. Let's see here. Megs, thank you for the follow. LP left my husband's auntie a little blanket on her porch once because she'd leave stuff out for him. Yeah, they do things like that. They do things like that. That's awesome. Yeah, you got one of the good ones. Now, the tricksters is where you got to kind of be careful with. Like, I've heard stories of LP taking kids and they come back and they're just not right. Taking kids and they come back and they're just not right. I've heard 40K, y'all. Got 10% battery left. But yeah, they do those things. Ronnie said, just joining. What's the topic? So right now, Ronnie, when we get to 40K, I'm either telling a hyena cryptid story or a Bigfoot story. So those are the two options. And right now, I'm just talking whatever's in the chat. We're talking about LP. Very vague and brief and broad LP. Cheryl says, I think there's good ones and bad ones. Yeah, I agree with you. Because one thing, too, and that was in Blood and Myth, is that it seemed like they were kind of guiding him. He was just, down bad. But they were helping him. They were trying to get him to, go the right way. He chose not to. He kind of says that in their documentaries. You live and die by your choices. And he was scared of them. And he didn't know what to believe in them. Ronnie says, a lot of action around my house with LP. I'd like to hear them. Dreamers of Light said they teach medicine ways too. Yep, they do. 1,000%. I know a lot of medicine people. I've told this story before about, it's kind of an old story that I heard back when I was in elementary school about how Cherokee medicine guy was, he had them as kind of like his helpers or whatever. And they kept him in kind of, I say jars, but I don't really, in my head, that's what I see him in, but he had them in different, places in his house. And they would be in his shirt and whatnot. But they do help. They do guide, and they also watch too. I know Rod from Lodge tells. I keep shouting that guy out. He tells of some medicine people having them as kind of like, watchers and kind of letting people know what's coming and going. But we're almost there, y'all. Your mom, that's a good name. I like that. Followed. Thank you so much. I appreciate the follow. Even the Hyena cryptid story you told was directly behind my house. Dang. That's crazy. Out there at Apache Y. And I have another story, kind of a hyena cryptid out there at Apache Lake. It's crazy. As a native, they're just people. If you leave them alone, they don't mess with you. Yep, Mosey B, yep, you're correct. Yeah, I was always told to leave them alone. If they're messing with you, just tell them to go on. And that's one thing too. I think a lot of times when I see people moving into these brand new housing additions, and they have, they'll say, "Oh, I have stuff happening," or they're like, "Oh, things not working." It's like, yeah, because you guys are probably built that on something you wasn't supposed to. LP trail could be anything. I watched the Tulsa Tunnel story. I'm from Oklahoma as well. Okay. Are you from Tulsa area, or are you just Oklahoma? Oklahomie is what is what they're saying now. We're cool like that. We got our own little thing. Yep, Tulsa. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've shared a few Tulsa stories. I've done a few things. Trent Davis said, plug your phone in and let's go all night. Nah. I can't, man. I'll be cooked. Yeah, I'm from Tulsa area. I always post my where I'm from, my location. It helps with the algos. If you leave silver or something in the shiny, they'll take it as a gift. Yeah, I've heard that too. You know, someone was telling me in the comments of that LP video I did about that documentary, said that they used to leave spoons out for them. I've heard that too. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing, man. Just I think a lot of people just and they just kind of, I say a lot of people. There are people who just won't believe us. You know, it's native people or people who have experienced native beings. They just won't believe it. And hey, it's like the same thing. I always do the same thing with, faith. You believe because you can. And I never try to fault people for not having those beliefs because they didn't grow up like that. I was lucky enough to have both mom and dad's families, both sides that have seen crazy things. That story out of Porter on my page, Bigfoot story, was my grandpa's story. It's a great story. It's one of my favorite stories ever. He watches this too, so Papa, if you're seeing this, hello. He be creeping. I saw him a couple weeks ago. He's like, I've been watching your videos. I was like, well, thank you. But Papa, if you're seeing this, hello. And that's a great story, and I appreciate you always. He's an entertaining guy, man. He's country to the bone, but he's always got stories. He's the one that saw that hyena thing or whatever that is first. That's how I even discovered this thing. Was he told me a story he saw of him and his dog, and his dog was scared. But yeah, he watches. Yeah, my mom's dad, my papa on my mom's side is still around. My grandpa on my dad's side, he was Muskogee Creek. He passed away 2021, and I told a story on my page about. I really couldn't remember a lot of those stories. Maybe I was just working too much. My mind was other places, but I was having a lot of trouble remembering his stories. And I had a dream one night, and all of a sudden I started remembering stories. I just was like, man, it was like he gave it to me, like he finally, he transferred that information, or it unlocked in my brain. Mosey B said, I've walked through woods. My dad taught me how to respect it and never be scared. That's what, yep. Yeah, Mosey B, sound like we've had pretty similar advice given to us. My grandpa and my dad always used to say, you need to go on. Okay, I'm here, respect, you give you respect, but you say, I need to do this. This is my home, type of thing where you just let this entity know, that this is your home and, this is where you live. But we're almost at 40K, y'all. My phone is literally about to die. So if we can just, tap that button, man. Tap it. We'll get to 40K. And so right now, we got Bigfoot story or we got hyena cryptid. And we're going to start our voting now. So if you put in the chat which one you want, and we'll get it rocking on which one. So for those joining in late, if you want to watch the entire stream, it will be on YouTube and sometime this week. Every past stream that I've done is over on YouTube. So if you go to my page, hit the YouTube tab, go over there, or even just search it up, Warcry Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Go check it out. I got hundreds of hours of content. Stories. So you may hear some repeat stories, but TikTok hasn't heard them. And I got to bring y'all in somehow. I got to get y'all lured in. But I love it, man. I love connecting with people. Yep, Mosey B, you're 100% right. 1,000% right, 1,000,000% right, all right, no wrongs, no lies told. But like I said, we're getting close, y'all. Thank you, Mosey B, for the follow. And like I said, that's one thing too, though, is just learning too. I want to learn things. You know, I didn't know this. I didn't know Japan has LP. Their indigenous population out there has LP. Russian people have LP. So I didn't know any of this. People in my comments are telling me and educating me on world culture. That, you know, the Scottish have LP, Irish have LP. Those types of places have LP too. We just see it differently, and I think each person, each culture, and this is one thing too that, you know, a lot of people don't really talk about and don't really realize about themselves, even non-natives. You're from somewhere. Your people are from somewhere. You come from places. Maybe it's not. I mean, your people came here, you know, whatever year or whatever time. But your connection is wherever your people are from. And a lot of times, the Irish brought over their things. You know? Different cultures, as they moved over here to America, when America and the United States was established, they brought their things over too. You know, we think of like Trail of Tears and how LP came with us too, and the tie snake and, you know, all these different beings came with us here to Oklahoma. The same thing happened. So like the centaurs are a European thing. That's French. I think those come from Greek. I'm sorry, Greek. The Wendigo, that's a French thing. They've been seeing that thing in the French Alps for millennia. The Germanic tribes, they've seen things. They have things. You know, Europeans have tribes too. You had the Nordic tribes, which were the very northern. You had Germanic, which was basically all of that little section of, you know, of Europe. Obviously, the Jews had their tribes. Like everybody has somewhere, and they have. You know, you look at the tribes of the Middle Eastern people, Arabs. They have all their tribes. They have the jinn. That's another LP, or shapeshifter, trickster type being. So, you know, it's fascinating to learn these things from people and to try to, you know, just learn as much as I possibly can, because I think a lot of times we get so bottlenecked into us, and we're not really looking around to see, oh, there's other people out there, you know, with that. Mosey B, I say tie snake all the time. I'm very familiar with tie snake. I don't want to say is the actual, you know, creek name. I won't say that name. That's that name. Yeah, I'll call something. But yeah, I'm very familiar with tie snake. I was born and raised Tahlequah, Oklahoma, off the Illinois. It's got, you know, hung out a lot around Eufaula Lake. It's got it. Yeah, I'm not a novice when it comes to talking about tie snake. I've had experiences with it. I've had family have experience with it. You know, we don't. I was always told too with them is if you see it, you're not supposed to talk about it. Like for a certain amount of years, or something bad might happen to you. And that's a lot. That's a lot of with different things too. Yeah, but I appreciate you saying that though. But yeah, man, I don't say the real. Yeah, I don't say that. You'll never hear me on any platform ever say the creek name for that snake, because you want to play. That's playing. I don't. No, you ain't gonna hear me say that. I'll let whoever else say it. But I usually just say snakes too. When people, that's one thing too. When I say the full name or whatever, or like, you know, like tie snake or whatever, people don't even know what I'm talking about. So I usually have to say horned serpent or horned snake. I was raised calling it that, tie snake. But I know a lot of people were raised calling it horned serpent. I know some of the northern tribes call it horned serpent. I know some of the First Nations tribes call it horn serpent, but that snake is out in Eufaula, though. That snake is no doubt at Eufaula. Crazy story too, I'll tell you, but from some non-natives. They were out there on the boat one time, and they were asking me, hey, because they know I know certain things about certain places and whatnot, and so they were asking me, we heard mooing out in the middle of the lake. I said, did y'all get in the water after? And they were like, no, we just kind of took off. And I just told them, I said, if you hear mooing in the middle of the lake, it ain't no cow. I'm just going to tell y'all that. And they just like, all right. We're close, 40K. I know Trent's trying to call it out before we're actually 40K. We're 39.8. So the options for 40K is a hyena cryptid or Bigfoot. Somebody said they wanted to hear horned serpent stories. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have enough phone battery to get into that. I'm at my phone is at like barely any battery right now, and I'm trying to get to 40K so I can tell this final story. What do y'all want to hear, Bigfoot or hyena cryptid? Or I guess I can throw in tie snake. If you want to hear a tie snake story, I can tell one of those too. Trent says Bigfoot. Hey, Stavo, I'm sorry. So basically, when they heard a mooing sound, this snake makes a certain noise when it's in the water, and that's the sound it makes. It sounds like a cow. Sheena says all three. Hey, I know, guys. I'm sorry. My phone is about to die. I'm literally like on 2%. Dang, Jackalope, you got a picture of one? I'd probably get rid of that, honestly. So we got 2 for Bigfoot. We got 1 for all three. 2 for tie snake, and then so Bigfoot's at right now is it's tied right now with tie snake story. So I need a tiebreaker here. Stavo says do more lives about horn snakes. So I'm going to say this. I'll say this. My podcast, I do talk about tie snake, horn serpent, horn snake, whatever you want to call it. I do talk about it a lot on my podcast. There is an episode called Snakes and Conspiracy. I talk about them snakes a lot in that episode. Snakes and conspiracies. I talk about a lot of different things. We got 3 Bigfoot, 2 tie snake. Cheryl says tamale. I think she means tie snake, so I'll say 3. All right, we're tied now. Who's going to break the tie? Stavo, you going to go tie snake? We'll break the tie. Ooh, tamales. Man, I would hate for my phone to die in the middle of me telling a story. I guess, all right, Stavo says tie snake. Oh, Jimmy, we're tied again. Come on, Jimmy. We're tied again. 4-4. Tie snake story, Bigfoot story. Someone's got to jump in and break this tie. Tie snake, Bigfoot. Which one? Someone come in and break this tie for us. All right. Well, okay, Cheryl, you've already voted. I already counted your vote. All right, Benjamin Good Eagle. We're going to go Bigfoot story. Oh, never mind. Dreamers of Light tied us back up. All right, there we go. Tie snake story. There we go. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Do I want to tell the one? I'll tell a small one, then I'll tell another one. So I have a cousin he's Kiowa and Muskogee Creek, and they were coming home one night, and you could tell the moon was real full. And they're driving by like you're headed towards Eufaula from Shakota. And they're on the middle of that lake. If y'all know that road goes right in the dead smack in the middle of that lake. He looks over, and you could see in the moonlight something's tail was outside the water. And it literally raises up and smacks the water. Smacks. That's a small one. Another one. Now, this is the spicy one. This is a really extremely spicy one. Really spicy. But I'm going to tell it. So, I had a cousin. She was out swimming. She was pregnant. It was her and her friend's boyfriend or husband, whichever. There's their spouse. So they're out there swimming, and she's in the water. And if you guys know about Eufaula Lake and some of those beaches, you could walk out there and it'd be knee high. It'd be waist high sometimes. But there are times where that just drops straight down and you don't know how deep it is. But she was in one of those areas. So she gets down and she's sitting, and she doesn't realize that she hit one of those deep parts. So she slides down and she goes down, and when she goes under, there's a snake sitting there looking at her. Just looking at her. And that water's real dirty, so that snake had to bend. Her friend noticed that she was down under the water, and they go and grab her, and that snake literally was right there, and they pulled her out right as that snake was getting closer. But yeah, that's a tie snake story out of Eufaula, Oklahoma. It's Eufaula Lake. Stavo says I got kinfolk, if I can say it. He's got kin. He's got kin, y'all. From Wainwright and Muskogee all the way to Eufaula and Sulphur. Man, you got everybody out there. But yeah, that's a tie snake story for you. You know what? I'm gonna throw an extra one in here for y'all. Let's do a Bigfoot since we went so far. I know some people in here want to hear a Bigfoot story. I haven't told one all night. Dreamers of Light, send me your mom's story. I'd love to hear it. Shoot me a DM on here. Yeah, if you got a story you want to tell, and it doesn't have to be I don't have to make it public. You can just tell it to me. If you say, I want to keep this in the tuck, I'll keep it in the tuck. I do that a lot for people. There's stories that may never hear the light of day because people just wanted to tell me their story and, keep it that way. Benjamin says, let's quick Bigfoot story then. We'll do one. All right. So this story comes from Derek Morris. He's Eastern Band Cherokee out in North Carolina. Or Tennessee. I think it's Tennessee. He was going to work one morning. He goes to work very early, like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, however early. Sometimes when he texts me, it's like early. And he was driving to work, and he looked over, and the sun is not quite there. You can see that the sun is coming. It's approaching. He looks over, and he sees a Bigfoot. And he's like, what? And the Bigfoot, in one easy move, stepped over the fence, walked one step into the pasture. It was a pasture. There's no trees, nothing. Steps over the fence, takes one step into the pasture, and disappears. Gone. Don't know where it went. Gone. Nowhere to be found. And I have this theory. It's a running theory. It can always change. That Bigfoot practices medicine. Cherokees, we call it secret tribe. Kind of people, and non-natives always say, oh, what? What are you talking about? Secret tribe? Are they humans? No. I don't think they're humans, but there's something really intelligent, and I think that they've been here for a long time, and they know things. But let me know what you think of that Bigfoot story. Stavo says, my Nana always told me to never swim in lakes like Eufaula, and that something is... Yeah, no, I stopped swimming in Eufaula maybe in my mid-20s. After I started hearing more snake stories, no. I'm not swimming in it. It's just too... Like, when you go underwater, some people have went underwater, like in those, like I said, those deep parts, and they see big catfish, like huge catfish. And But yeah, when she went under there was she said that was one of those snakes because you could tell. And like I said, I can't remember exactly the details if her friend pulled her because of the snake. But yeah. But all right, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you guys joining me on this journey into the unknown. I appreciate each and every one of you guys joining me on this journey into the unknown.